veterans, fellow Americans, today we are here to celebrate and to honor and to commemorate the dead and the living. The young men who in every war since this country began have given testimony to their loyalty to their country and their own great courage. I do not believe that any nation in the history of the world has buried its soldiers further from its native soil than we Americans, or buried them closer to the towns in which they grew up. We celebrate this Veterans Day for a very few minutes, and then this country's life goes on. But I think it most appropriate that we recall on this occasion the contribution and the sacrifice which so many men and their families have made in order to permit this country to now occupy its present position of responsibility and freedom, and in order to permit us to gather here together. In an age that threatens the survival of freedom, we join together to honor those who made our freedom possible.
The tomb of the unknown soldier is guarded 24 hours a day, 365 days a year by the soldiers of the 3rd United States Infantry Regiment. Every year, visitors come from all over the world to pay homage to this sacred shrine, which houses the remains of 3 members of the United States military who sacrificed everything, including their identities, to protect America and the freedom it represents. The soldiers who keep watch over this memorial are called tomb guards, and they stay at their post year-round through the blistering heat of the summer and the frigid chill of the coldest winter months. In order to guard the unknowns, these elite soldiers undergo some of the most intensely focused instruction in the United States Army. During their 9-month training cycle, a vast majority of them will quit, become injured, or fail to meet the standard, leaving only the most dedicated and disciplined left to guard the unknowns. These soldiers endure 26-hour shifts, meticulous inspection and testing regimens, and have to spend almost all of their off time working to keep up with the furious pace of training. After months of rigorous instruction and correction, the men and women who complete the training cycle finally earn their tomb badge and become Sentinels. The Tomb Guard Identification Badge is the least awarded badge in the military, and, unlike other badges, it can be taken away at any time, even after a Sentinel has left the unit or been discharged from the Army. Until now, the traditions and training methods of the guards who protect the tomb of the unknown soldier have been shrouded in mystery. This documentary showcases a unique, behind-the-scenes look at the unbelievable process that these soldiers go through in order to guard the unknowns. Just across the Potomac River, Arlington National Cemetery is protected by the soldiers of the 3rd United States Infantry Regiment, the Old Guard, the Army's oldest active duty unit. Placed strategically above Washington, D.C., Fort Myer borders 624 acres of our nation's most hallowed grounds. Arlington National Cemetery is reserved as a final home for America's fallen patriots. Over 400,000 men and women have been honorably laid to rest here since 1864. Nestled in the heart of the cemetery, an elite platoon keeps a constant vigil at our nation's most sacred shrine, the tomb of the unknown soldier. The regimental command sergeant major, is responsible for the men stationed at this prestigious post. CSM Jeffrey Stitzel is a former tomb guard and expects every soldier who walks the mat to maintain a standard of perfection.
These guys do phenomenal things. I just happen to be the guy that has to tell them, hey, we can do a little bit better.
The 3rd Infantry Regiment, what their main mission is doing funerals here in Arlington National Cemetery. So that's the main goal. And then there's also the Old Guard does all the retirements where a general retires or a sergeant major of the Army or anybody basically who's been in the Army for a long, long time gets a big ceremony here on Fort Myer, Summerall Field.
Tomb guards are entrusted with the responsibility of watching over these unknowns. It is a duty they hold dear.
I've been in the Army for a little over 25 years now. My favorite job the entire time I've been in the Army was a Sentinel at the Tomb of the Unknown Soldier. Probably the greatest feeling in the world is to be out on the plaza on a day when there's nobody out there and it's just you and the unknowns. And you're thinking about why you're guarding the guys. And you realize that, these guys gave everything they had. They gave their names, their lives, their identities for their country. And it makes you proud to be able to go out there and allow them to rest.
There's nothing like being out on the plaza. You want to get out there. You want to be outside. It doesn't matter if there's one person out there or 1,000 people out there. It doesn't matter. Just being outside and getting to do our job. It's the best job I've had in the Army.
Kind of my thing is letting the guys know that it's not about you. It's about the unknowns and what they represent.
Nobody knows what they've done. Nobody knows what their jobs were, but the fact that they gave their identity for our country, they were all posthumously awarded the Congressional Medal of Honor, and that's the highest award that anybody can receive for act of valor.
And people ask why they've got the Medal of Honor, and it really comes down to that is you died for your country and nobody knows who you are. Everybody thinks just the unknowns. Well, you can't find really a section that doesn't have at least one headstone that says unknown on
it. Every minute of every day, as seasons pass, the Sentinels stand guard at their post, pursuing perfection in order to uphold the standard of reverence these fallen heroes deserve. During the initial briefing, the sergeant of the guard gives the soldiers their first glimpse at the standards and challenges they'll face, and the lifestyle of sacrifice they will be required to adopt if they choose to represent the unknowns to the world.
My name is Sergeant First Class Chad Stackpole, the current Sergeant of the Guard, badge number 600. I initially came here with the intent to the Old Guard to be the Sergeant of the Guard. I've always wanted to come here. I've been here on multiple occasions, and I've always been impressed. It's amazing the standards of these guys. You don't see it as much when you come to visit. You just kind of hear and you get the little brief and you start understanding some of it. But until you get behind that door and you start seeing some of the efforts and the work and the commitment and the sacrifices that these guys make to fill this, I wanted to be a part of that. And the fact that I get to come down here and not only be a part of it, but I get to kind of implement and mentor these guys and coach them along the way to get them to see the bigger picture. You're a part of something bigger than yourself, and you don't realize this right now. This is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, a very unique organization, and the only place in the Army you'll ever get to do this.
My earliest memories was all in how dedicated the other guards were. I mean, it was just amazing to me, the detail that they did to their uniforms, pressing their clothes, cleaning their medals, polishing their shoes. That's the one thing I remember when I first came over and wondering, will I be able to do that? Can I discipline myself enough to do that, you know?
It's kind of surreal when you see these guys and the level of proficiency they execute their mission at. You know that you could do it, but it's one of those things that even when I came here in training, you kind of doubt it because you're watching these guys and you're like, man, I just can't get this. And with this, to get through training, it's due time. It's just, in due time, you will complete the training, and it's all based off of your ability to execute the task at hand.
Several of the soldiers in this briefing are witnessing the changing of the guard for the first time, and while they may practice weapons manual back at the regiment, The manual used by the tomb guards is a special routine, carefully crafted and polished for decades. Soldiers who come down to the tomb to go through the training cycle may have heard stories about the ceremonial changing of the guard, but nothing can prepare them for what they'll see next.
I was very interested in coming down here, and I was interested in it and the honor guard before I came to the old guard and had looked into it. So I had some expectation, but of course, none of us knew really what we were getting into until we came down here.
On the plaza during the changing of the guard, there are 3 soldiers. The 2 with rifles are walkers. One at a time, they walk their 21s, constantly rendering the highest honors to these fallen patriots.
The 21-gun salute is the highest military honor that can be rendered. We tomb guards try and show the unknowns the utmost respect by giving them as many 21s as possible. We will wait 21 seconds on the mat, walk 21 steps. Anything we can do, we try and incorporate the number 21 into it.
The origin of the 21-gun salute is still widely debated to this day, but one theory says the salute dates back to a 14th century naval tradition that required ships to empty their cannons when approaching port. Standard warships at the time carried 7 cannons, which took a relatively long time to reload. An approaching ship would fire all 7 cannons out to sea as a sign of good faith, to show ground forces they would not be able to attack. Forts ashore typically had more cannons available for defense than warships, and would return the salute by firing 3 volleys of 7 rounds, equaling 21. The 3rd soldier on the plaza is the changer. He is in charge of inspecting the oncoming guard and overseeing the passing of orders between the soldiers protecting the tomb.
Usually whenever the guard changer, you walk up and both guards are at center. He says, pass on your orders. The guard that's coming off of duty, say, post orders remain as directed. I believe that it's basically just saying, the orders are the same, they haven't changed, continue to fulfill them.
Most of the time, the changer is an NCO, a non-commissioned officer.
My Staff Sergeant James Wilkes. I'm the relief commander on 3rd Relief. So I'm basically their supervisor as far as training goes for the new men, new guys in training, making sure they get that standard, they hold it, they perform outside. For the current badge holders, making sure they're training the trainees properly, and also making sure they're holding the standard as well. I just kind of help my guys learn as much as I can. I kind of work more off of common sense while following the guidelines. The trainees are starting to get used to it. I got 4 new guys, and the other 3 are kind of new, and they're starting to come around more, starting to be a little less nervous, a little more happy to be down here, and it just keeps going up from there.
Sentinel Marshal is the oncoming guard. He stops at a portion of the plaza known as the inspection block and waits, while his relief commander, Sergeant Wilkes, carefully looks over his weapon. The inspection is choreographed, memorized, passed down over the years from trainer to trainer, soldier to soldier, sentinel to sentinel, to ensure future generations of tomb guards inspect the weapon just as carefully as the seasons come and go. After he's seen every inch of the weapon, he gives it back to the oncoming tomb guard and starts to inspect his uniform. The changer eyes the walker from head to toe. If he fails inspection, he'll be ordered to return to quarters. During the guard change, to execute their mission correctly, all 3 soldiers must maintain a perfect count in their heads. They keep a precise cadence while conducting an intensely focused and functional inspection of the oncoming guard.
Cadence is timing, sequence, and it's like a well-orchestrated routine out there where your heel clicks, you're turning, you're facing. You want everything to sound as one. You want everybody to mirror each other. Your training is focused on being as one out there.
The entire inspection sequence is part of the changing of the guard, and it is only one portion of the 3 main duties tomb guards must master, known as outside performance.
Training, typically, when they explain it's in 3 phases: the knowledge, the outside performance, and your uniform. Out of those 3 things, usually somebody will have an easier time with one thing than another, and they'll struggle elsewhere.
Out of the hundreds of soldiers who attend this initial briefing, only 8 of them volunteer to take on the training cycle. The first obstacle these soldiers must overcome is the Army's physical fitness test.
This morning was the day 0 for the upcoming assessment here. First event was the Army physical fitness test. We used that just to kind of measure the soldiers' discipline, their overall fitness, to find out what type of caliber soldier I'm going to be looking at for the training cycle. It really doesn't play a factor unless the guys fail. I'm really looking to see if these guys are trainable, if they have the heart and they're motivated to be here.
All right, man, the next event will be the 2-mile run. You are being tested on your ability to complete the 2-mile course in the shortest time possible. Although walking is authorized, it is strongly discouraged. All right, get ready, get set, begin.
A lot of these soldiers have been here for a while. It's something they wanted to do, but they won't take that leap themselves. It's kind of encouraged by the leadership that, hey, go do the assessment, see if they want you, and then if you make it, then we make that decision of whether you get it. Half of them are soldiers that want to be here.
After taking the PT test, the new soldiers will get their first look inside the tomb quarters and receive a broad overview of what they can expect while in training.
TDY is where a soldier comes in, a new soldier comes in and learns the basics on how to press their uniform, how to do the manual, how to walk, how to come onto the plaza. Just kind of a crash course on the tomb.
Anybody in the regiment could come down to the tomb. They go through the TDY cycle, and from there they're selected to come down to be put on a relief to start training.
There is a test afterwards. They're tested on uniform, outside performance, and on their knowledge also.
Knowledge requirements, it's about 17 pages of information that we have to memorize word for word and recite it verbatim to include commas, parentheses, and quotations.
They have so many mistakes they can make, just like a normal test would be going through training.
When I first started the TDY class, I would go home with my tomb knowledge and my wife would help me study. Can honestly say I couldn't do it without her. She could probably come in and, pass a couple of tests right now, actually.
Only a handful of women have earned their badge guarding the tomb of the unknown soldier. Most of the soldiers who take on the training are from the infantry.
Infantry has been mostly guarding the tomb, but there was MPs guarding, and now, they're starting to branch out and let other groups guard the unknowns, but there's not many other than infantry that get to come do this job, but it's great to come serve with these infantrymen and serve the unknowns.
I was a supply sergeant, so pretty much I had to beg to come down to the tomb. At the time when I first got to the old guard, I really didn't understand the mission of the tomb guards. Against talking to those gentlemen that were down here guarding the tomb, the unknowns, just that sacrifice kind of overwhelmed me, and that's something I wanted to do.
Originally in TDY, I believe we started out with 13. From there, we dropped to 11, and they got dispersed among the reliefs. When I started TDY, I asked my trainer, Sergeant Baker, what's the ratio of people who actually make it through training? He honestly said about 2 or 3 people. And I was like, I couldn't believe it. I couldn't fathom that all these people, that everybody would drop out, and I asked them how, why? Life, the dedication. Some people just don't make it through. It's so long. And I've only been here since February, so coming up on 4 months, and we're down to 5 people now.
This tour through the quarters is known as the TDY briefing.
What to expect. Expect a 9-day cycle. Expect that on day 1, and it doesn't matter what day of the week it is, all right? Expect that on day 1, you're gonna come in, you're gonna pull a 26-hour shift. For the guys that are selected, we will talk to you guys one-on-one, offer you the position down here to come and serve, and you guys will see that it is a very attainable goal.
I'm Staff Sergeant Juan Bedeau, Assistant Sergeant of the Guard. I am conducting TDY right now. We have 8 candidates. It's a smaller class, but they're doing fairly well for their first week.
If they pass, then they'll get assigned to a relief and continue their actual training for the next 5 to 6 months.
Everybody knows the word amnesty means. Everybody knows there's certain things you can't acknowledge that they even exist, right? That doesn't count for you today. You're going to learn what those things are when we go over the new man rules. So when I'm pointing out something and talking about it, look at it, because this is going to be the last time you're going to be able to see it until you're done with training, all right? See the wooden boards? This board's from 1921 to 1958. See there's no badge on it? First badge wasn't awarded. Right, this one is from 1958 to 1963. Not everybody got a badge even when it did start getting awarded. When it started off, only NCOs got them.
NCOs, or non-commissioned officers, are enlisted soldiers who've earned a leadership role. Not to be confused with commissioned officers or warrant officers, enlisted soldiers account for a large portion of the Army and are the only ones given the regular responsibility of guarding the tomb.
Over here is a permanent badge holder board. Anybody that's ever got a badge has got their name on here. Anybody that's ever screwed up, their name doesn't exist to us anymore. Everybody knows this can get taken away at any point in time in your life, right? Whether you're in the military or not.
The Tomb Guard identification badge is on my right breast pocket. It's the least awarded badge in the military. It's sterling silver. It has 3 figures on it that represent peace, victory, and valor. It has a wreath that is inverted to represent mourning. As you can see, I'm not wearing rank on this uniform. It's actually because this is my walking uniform. I walk on the mat while I'm wearing this one. And the unknowns to us, they outrank everybody. So it's kind of our way of showing that nobody outranks the unknowns.
There are myths about the tomb that have survived for decades. Tomb guards do hold themselves to a higher standard than the rest of the Army, but this is a self-imposed standard. If a tomb guard does anything throughout his life to bring discredit or disgrace upon himself or the tomb, his badge will be revoked and his name removed from the badge board. This is the only badge issued by the military that can be revoked after a soldier's term of service ends.
Everybody knows what the crypts are and what the tomb is, right? This is a tomb. These are the crypts, all right? This is the back of the tomb, all right? The front of the tomb is this right here. It's got 3 figures on it. That's what you see when you're all the way down at the bottom. Anybody that's ever done a wreath ceremony has had to march up from the bottom. You look up, you see the 3 figures on the tomb? That's the front. We guard it from the back.
The tomb of the unknown soldier houses the remains of an unidentified member of the United States military who died fighting for our country in World War I. Just behind the tomb lay 3 crypts, one of which is empty. Like the tomb, 2 of these crypts contain unknown soldiers. The crypt located farthest south holds one of the countless unidentified casualties of World War II. The northernmost crypt holds the body of an unknown soldier from the Korean War, and like the others, it represents all the known and unknown American soldiers who were killed or went missing in action during that conflict. In the center of the plaza lies an empty crypt. It represents the unknown soldiers who died in the Vietnam War.
Over here is the Vietnam interment and disinterment, right? That crypt is empty.
The Vietnam unknown, when they identified it in roughly mid-97 as Michael Blassie. Michael Blassie, his family members wanted him disinterred and brought back. He's buried at Jefferson Barracks National Cemetery, St. Louis, Missouri. With that, I think with the DNA now and the technology, from what I've been told over the years, they're no longer going to be a representative of the Vietnam unknown, because slowly but surely they're continuing to identify these individuals, which is good for the family.
You are guards first and foremost. You're there to prevent anything from happening to the nation's most sacred shrine.
The World War I, the World War II in Korea, these are individuals that did not come home. This individual is representing the thousands of men and women that did not come home. You get the family members that come here and they pay their respects. Maybe that's a little closure to them saying, hey, that could be my son, that could be my daughter, that could be my uncle, that could be my great-grandfather.
We're not up there because there's a monument, and we're not up there because we do these ceremonies, and we're not up there because we're doing a guard change for people to see. We're up there because there are families that have lost their loved ones, and there are millions of them out there. And this man out there, these men out there, are representative of those. And that's what we're there for. And we're guarding those men to say, we're guarding everyone.
We'll teach you everything that you need to know on how to actually protect the tomb. That's why it's a 24-hour day. That's why there's constantly somebody out there. It's a pretty big area, isn't it? Got the rails, the chains, then the tomb. And you got the steps going all the way down to the bottom where there's another set of rails. That entire area is your guard post. And believe me, people come walking up the steps randomly throughout the day.
Sir, it is requested that you remain off the plaza at all times.
We don't know why, but they do it. So you actually got to keep an eye out for that.
You would get the children, adults as well, that would either be talking or what we would look at as being disrespectful. That's when the Sentinel or whoever was walking the mat would break them off and say, it is requested that everyone remain silent and standing.
It is requested that everyone maintains a level of silence and respect.
On the mat, you see all kinds of things. People drop cameras, people make faces, people will do a number of things to try to distract you, and you have to be prepared for that.
How many visitors a year do we get just to come to see the guard change? Over 5 million. They come just to see the changing of the guard. How many people out of those 5 to 7 million do you think come to pay respects to the unknowns? Roughly 250,000 out of 5 to 7 million.
I think they're visiting both the unknowns to pay their respects and just to see the ceremony. I kind of hope that they see through me to the unknowns because I stand in between them and the unknowns, guarding them, with my rifle on the opposite shoulder away from the tomb. But I kind of hope that I'm transparent and they really see the unknowns behind me.
That's why we learn the knowledge and we have the history on the cemetery and we can tell them anything they need to know. That's why there's placards all over giving a history of the tomb. We want them to come and watch us. Come see a guard change. Coolest thing you'll ever see. But leave knowing what you saw in that plaza. These 3 guys gave up everything. Nobody's ever going to know who they are, what they did, where they died. Our standard is perfection for them. Not for the people out there, not for your trainers. They deserve perfection. That's why we do it. Now we're going to do the quarters tour. All right, yep, follow me. This is a wreath room. It's where all the wreaths are kept. TV. Don't worry about the TV. Table. Don't worry about what's going on at the table. You can't acknowledge the table or those chairs or the TV. Got it?
When you first come down here to the tomb, they take you on a tour through quarters. You get to see the table, you get to see the TV, and you get to see the badge locker room. You get to look at everything with a badge, and that's the last time you look at it until you receive your badge. Pretty much what it is they don't want you to have all of that stuff quite yet because they want you to focus on training. They think that if you look at a TV, you stare at a TV, watching TV all day, that your shoes aren't going to get done between walks, or your blouse may not get steamed out, and then you're going to go out the door looking bad.
During the day, there's no TV for us while you're at quarters. We have too many little jobs that we need to be focused on.
Stop right there. Put the bayonet more towards your head. And no. Put the butt out. Okay. And shove more of the can to it.
The problem with having soldiers that have been in the regiment for a while is they've developed the regimental habits, the manual, the walking, stuff like that, and you have to break them of that and teach them a whole nother way of doing it.
The tour of duty here at the tomb on paper is supposed to be 18 months, but just like with every other job in the military, if you don't train your replacement, you don't get replaced.
Here, follow that manual. You really need to work on that weapon strength. The rifle's flailing all over. So just make sure you're working on ready to holding it out, getting that wrist strength, because it takes all the outside strength. So whenever you rack it, it doesn't move.
The badge holders train the new soldiers relentlessly, and the constant criticism has a wide range of effects. It weeds out the weaker soldiers, strengthens the dedicated ones, and reassures the trainers that the tomb will be left in capable hands when their tour ends.
This monitor, that you can acknowledge, we encourage that. It's a live feed, okay? You can see everything that's going on in the plaza right now. All right, everybody turn around. Quarters telephone, this is a bat phone. We can pick this phone up, let it ring, he'll hear it, go into the box and call us back.
Throughout the day, if it gets dark or it starts to rain, they'll call it on different uniform changes, such as glasses off, so that the changer and the walker coming on are in the same uniform.
This is a knowledge corner. At quarter till, this is where you're gonna come in and ask to earn a walk.
Quarter till, may I earn this walk?
New men meet in the knowledge corner 15 minutes before each guard change to be tested on their knowledge, compete with each other for walks, or earn walks from badge holders by presenting high speed. If they can surprise a sentinel with tomb or cemetery-related information they've picked up during their free time, they might just get to guard the unknowns.
We had to earn walks, and high speed is like information that maybe a badge holder doesn't know.
High speed is knowledge that's not in your earned knowledge, your knowledge book.
Or dress drill. Hands up.
We used to play a sections game, and that would be, they'd read people's names from the knowledge. So it'd be like Gagnon, 51, because PFC Renee Gagnon's in section 51.
Right. Two. Double it. One.
So whoever can blurt out what section he's in the fastest, we play to 5, and if you get it right, you get 1. You miss it, you take 1 down, up to 5. So
13.
So then the 3-minute go. You gotta make the 3-minute go, and then get the walk.
You have 3 minutes to get back to the new man room, out of what you're in, and into full blues. Come back up into the knowledge corner, check yourself in the mirror, turn around, and yell, "Blouse, please." There's a reason for that. It's not just to mess with people. If something happens on the plaza, we have to get up there quick. We had a guy that just got dehydrated. I mean, bad in the summer. It was 100 degrees, we're wearing full wool, it happens. He called down and said, "I can't make it, we gotta do something." Within 5 minutes, this is why we do dress drills. Within 5 minutes, I was bloused, the new man was bloused, and we were already out the door, pulling him off the plaza.
I haven't experienced a full summer yet here. Right now it's getting hot. As a new man, I go out the door a couple times, and it's exhausting, it's tiring. But at the end of the day, you still got a mission to complete, getting ready for the next work day. So you kind of just push through it.
These racks are for the Sentinels. These are practice weapons. This is a day weapon. You don't touch a day weapon unless you're going out the door, or you're putting one together once you're on a relief. Now in that cabinet underneath the TV that you can no longer see are more weapons for practicing, okay?
The TDY class continues their tour through the quarters, stopping in each room to get a quick preview of where they'll be spending their time while in training.
This is a rouge table. That's the rouge wheel. Rouging is the polishing we do on all our metal pieces, okay? This is a new man room. This is where all your uniforms are going to live for the whole time you're in training. These are the wall lockers you can earn. When you come in, you have to bring everything. Full PTs, full ACUs, full blues, raincoat, everything.
Earning my wall locker, the way that they have training set up, it makes you appreciate everything that you earn as you progress in your training.
When I first got here, I got so wrapped up in all the little stuff that goes along with the training process, having to carry my stuff in, 2, 3 duffel bags, all these hanging clothes, have to carry them in every day. Part of the process of carrying my stuff in it was getting messed up. All those little things, it really builds on you.
All right, once you get one of these, life gets pretty easy because you don't have to lug all this stuff and all of this stuff with you every day.
We used to walk all the way from the barracks, go to the mess hall, and then I can remember on more than one occasion leaving the mess hall. You got your shoes in your hand, you got the bag on your shoulder, and Look back and I could see the barracks, and look forward, you could see the cemetery. Barracks, cemetery, and be like, just one more day.
Back at the tomb quarters, Sergeant Kamani is preparing to guard the unknowns. He counts to 21, while the NCO changing the guard makes his way to the plaza. The TDY class is brought out of the catacombs to view the changing of the guard, and now that they know some of the basics, they're instructed to watch carefully to see how those pieces fit into the bigger picture.
Our training had everything to do with preparing us for any type of situation that we could face as we're out there walking the mat. I think a lot of people are confused about our job in the sense of we're not just soldiers that are walking the mat to look good. We do that because we're trying to respect the unknowns and look our best, but it's an actual guard post. Our job is to maintain the utmost of reverence and respect of the unknowns. And in that process, it means that we keep a solemn look on our face, which means there's no smiling, no coarse joking, no joking at all. It's a very important, very serious time.
Staff Sergeant Buelna begins the ceremony by addressing the crowd.
Ladies and gentlemen, may I have your attention, please? I am Staff Sergeant Buelna of the 3rd Infantry Regiment, United States Army. Guard of Honor, Tomb of the Unknown Soldier. The ceremony that you are about to witness is the changing of the guard. In keeping with the dignity of this ceremony, it is requested that everyone remain silent and standing.
By setting that example to the audience that's here is our primary purpose, is not only to protect the unknowns, but set the example of reverence that they need to have. And part of the training is being able to not be distracted, being able to have a military bearing that prevents you from doing anything that would dishonor or break composure while you're out there guarding the unknowns.
Ceremonial composure is a learned skill that takes months to master. It is constant concentration and complete focus. It is a relentless balancing act. The tomb guards must keep watch over their post and maintain complete control of themselves, all while keeping a watchful eye on the endless crowds of visitors who come to these hallowed grounds.
Every time a soldier gets posted, a weapons inspection will happen. Even though it is a ceremonial looking inspection, we are actually checking everything on the weapon. When I open this up and I'm wiping it down, I am checking for rust, dust, but we will do this outside. It's also the most difficult part of the actual changing the guard itself, mostly because of all the flipping. You're most likely to drop the weapon, which will result in you being taken out of the platoon and sent somewhere else. The weapons are inspected daily in the mornings before we come on to work. If something's dirty, we'll have the relief that is coming off of their shift clean it. But for any reason, if there was to get an excess amount of dirt, rust, or dust on the weapons while we were on shift, whoever the changer was would hand the weapon back to the guard and he'd be sent down. We would go to order arms and we would continue the rest of the inspection, which would be a uniform inspection, starting with the top of his hat and working our way throughout the rest of his uniform, going from the front around to his back. While that happens, the person on the mat, he's actually going to be walking to the same movements as the guard changer's head so that we get in sync and our heel clicks end up being on.
My name is Staff Sergeant Michael Buelna, and I'm on 2nd Relief.
It took me 12 years to get here. Recently, 2 months ago, I came down for the training cycle. I actually started off in the National Guard.
Left shoulder. Arm.
But one thing that brought me to the active Army was, one, I always wanted to be a full-time soldier, and two was to get here. I knew that was one of the requirements. You had to be an active duty soldier. So I did so, but every single time I tried getting here, there was always an obstacle in my way. It's been a challenge. I can't compare it to anything I've ever done. They talk about one-thirds, two-thirds rule, where you got the one-thirds planning, two-thirds prep, but usually it's the other way around, and you're still gonna go out there and execute the mission. But here, it's like, wow, I mean, you get critiqued so hard. And I understand, because I, as a staff sergeant and a possible future relief commander, have to be able to have that standard in mind as well.
Everything that comes to training here, being a tomb guard, it's very important to us. No matter what the duty is, it's going to be very important. So we always strive to be at the top of our game in everything we do. And when we go out there and we guard those unknowns, we are dedicated 110% to them. There's no better feeling than being out there walking with them.
Hopefully, the new men are starting to understand the gravity of their responsibilities and the honor the badge holders maintain while guarding the unknowns. Each relief spends roughly 26 hours in the cemetery each shift. They must be ready for duty before the sun rises, carry out their mission all day and night, and then head home to prepare for their next shift. The 3 reliefs at the tomb operate in what's commonly known as a firefighter's schedule. After working 3 out of 5 days in an alternating pattern, each relief receives 4 consecutive days off, giving the tomb guards time to work on their uniforms and recover physically. The relief coming off duty cleans the quarters for inspection, while the oncoming soldiers prepare to guard the unknowns. After the quarters are thoroughly cleaned, the relief taking over will inspect and gig the quarters.
First thing in the morning when we come in, we immediately start gigging quarters. How's the work day? Not bad. It was actually great weather. So. It was like 70 degrees outside all day, wasn't it? It was pretty awesome. Anything from dust on top of the pictures to something didn't sweep up in the hallway. The rouge table wasn't wiped down properly, it wasn't clean, anything like that. Big one being the kitchen and the briefing room. Briefing room has to be spotless, even during the day. So that's the one I usually gig the most, just because it has to be clean. Obviously, new men can't acknowledge stuff with the badge on it. So there's one with the Sentinel's Creed with the badge on top of it. They can't acknowledge that. So you have to get one of the badge holders to wipe it down if it's dirty, which it shouldn't be. But anything that needs to be cleaned, they clean it at 5. And then at 6, when we get in here, we go through it all, make sure it's all clean before we accept it.
Once the oncoming relief has accepted quarters, they get right to work.
We start usually at 5:50. We do our preparatory drills, and then we start on a run or whatever we're going to do. Sometimes we do muscle failure, but we try to get a little bit of cardio in each time we go out.
We work out in the cemetery. It's part of our job is when the cemetery's closed, we still have to conduct, physical training.
Most of us were in pretty good shape, just, good military shape to start with. Even though we are stationed down here, we still had to stay fit, just like the rest of the old guard. We had to maintain our certain level of proficiency as well.
Often there is very little time for PT in a regular duty day, but all soldiers are still required to maintain strict physical standards in order to be highly effective at their post. Another important part of the daily duties tomb guards must perform are wreath ceremonies. To lay a wreath at the tomb is considered an honor, and people from all over the world schedule a wreath laying months in advance.
During the wreath ceremonies, they select 4 people that are actually going to go out onto the plaza and lay the wreath. The sergeant comes up and briefs them and has them walk down with him down onto the plaza. One of the other guards brings the wreath to them and they lay the wreath on the stand. Taps is then played and then they walk off. And it's a big honor just to do that.
The ceremony is available to anyone who wishes to honor the unknowns. The President of the United States lays a wreath 2 times a year at the tomb, on Memorial Day and on Veterans Day. On rare occasions, the next in command will lay the wreath. This wreath laying is known as a full honors ceremony and requires a platoon from each branch of the military. Cannons are fired to announce the arrival of the Commander-in-Chief, and afterwards the President will enter the amphitheater to deliver a speech. Tomb guards maintain the highest uniform standards in the military. Even after learning what's expected of them, it can take months of diligent effort for trainees to see improvements. Before any soldier is allowed to walk the mat, they have to build their entire ceremonial uniform, using several of the same materials used by the rest of the old guard. The soldiers get their first uniforms here at Fort Myers Central Issue Facility. They'll spend hundreds of hours building and cleaning everything that they wear when they guard the unknowns. The entire process is part of the reason the training cycle can take up to 9 months. Some soldiers never master their uniforms, and it stops them from advancing. After receiving their initial issue, over the first few months, the new men are taught how to build their uniforms. For most new soldiers at the tomb, uniforms are unfamiliar territory.
I'd actually never dealt with any sort of uniforms before. Back in my old unit, you just take it to the dry cleaner, you need to press, dry clean, and they hand it back to you. You pin it real quick, and then you carry on.
To be honest with you, I didn't even know that there was this side of the Army. I didn't know that a uniform could be giggable. I didn't know that anything about a micrometer. I didn't know what any of that meant.
Here at the tomb, uniform preparation is a key skill that must be mastered.
Unlike any other unit in the Army, the tomb, a Sentinel is actually going to have to completely gut the inside of the blouse, which means when you initially get it from my CIF, my issuing facility, we take all the insides out. All the lining inside of the uniform, we take out, cut it, and then re-stitch witch it. If we need to do some sewing, we'll sew on the backs. Once that's all done, we'll actually burn the blouse, and that gets a lot of the fuzziness off of the uniform. Kind of makes it a little bit easier for when we press it, we get that nice crisp press in the uniform. Once it's burnt, we press out the sleeves, press out the front, the back, put our pleats in, do that a couple times, and then we go right into pinning the blouse. What we gotta do is take all of our medals, awards, everything, is pinned on our blouse, measured to as little as 1/64 of an inch. Now we use a little micrometer and measure it out on a daily basis. After that's all done, you're pretty much set to go.
The soldiers also have to maintain their uniform throughout the duty day, making constant corrections before and after each walk or guard change.
Once we're done walking, we come down. If we have to go right back up, we'll keep our uniform on. You can keep your blouse on if you want. In your pants, if your pants are on, you're standing up. What that does is it keeps that press mark, your pressed line, keeps that in there, making sure we're not getting any sort of wrinkles, anything like that in our uniform, which will lower that standard when we go outside.
When you're out there in the summertime, the heat's going, you might get in 1 or 2 guard postings, and then you're gonna have to come down and fix your shoes because they'll go from shiny black to gray because the sun just bakes it.
Most soldiers have already learned how to shine their shoes, but Tomb Guard standards require them to relearn with even closer attention to detail.
I came from an era where shining boots was my thing, from being a private in basic training. Drill sergeant taught you how to shine shoes. I think back in basic it was shining like the toe block and like the heels. Then I would get to my unit, they'd be like, you should shine the whole thing, But that shining a shoe back then was easy. This is not the same.
Sitting down and shining my shoes for hours is just mind-numbing to me. I'm a guy that likes to be outside doing something, and I got to sit down and shine shoes for hours, and that just bugs me.
Whatever time I, finish moving my uniform, I'll just shine my shoes for the rest of the remaining time. So I like to get it done early and just kind of hang out and shine shoes. And we'll shine them until I go to bed. And then that's really it. Just shine my shoes, double tap my uniform, make sure my bag's packed and go to sleep. And then do the same thing over again on my off day.
It's all what you put into them, in my opinion. I typically spend about 8 hours in between duty days, and on a 4-day, I'll put between 30 and 40 hours into my shoes. So it really is just the quality time that you spend on them. It's not just sitting down shining them for a couple minutes here or there. It's sit down and spend 2-3 hours shining shoes in one sitting.
From their first days at the tomb, new men are taught tips and techniques from sentinels in order to help get them up to speed.
One of the things you learn down here is even just something as simple as shining a shoe, there's different techniques, and each sentinel has a different technique. So being able to have them work with different people helps them, I think, develop faster into their own style, into their own technique, because they can take a little bit of this guy's or a little bit of that sentinel's and put it into their own.
It's a team effort. Just like from day one in basic training, your battle buddy. You've got a new man that you're down here training with. You guys study the knowledge together. He might know how to press a uniform a little bit different than you do, a little better method of shining shoes. You reach out to each other for that help and that assistance.
The learning curve can be frustrating, and many new men struggle with the constant criticism and correction.
I don't think you're ever going to be told you did great and it's perfect and mission complete. No. It's not going to happen that way. It's going to be like, okay, here's a list of things that you need to work on. And just when you get those right, okay, here's another list of things you need to work on. It's like, oh man, it's a lot.
It's difficult, not hearing, hey, you did an outstanding job today. I won't hear that, so that's the difficult part about it. When you think you have it, you don't.
Soldiers in training are never told in advance when they'll take a test, so their uniform must always be kept at the highest standard. Not knowing when they'll be allowed to advance is a hard reality to have to embrace, to increase their mental toughness. In general, soldiers will spend up to 8 hours per off day working on their uniforms and studying their knowledge. In the tomb quarters, individualized instruction is passed on from sentinel to new man. Private Chartier knows he must pay close attention so he can use the training provided to advance through the cycle.
I really wanted to be down here to be called a Sentinel. I wanted the badge, but being out on those many bolos that I was out, being out walking, being out, seeing those honor flight guys that will get up out of their wheelchair just to place their hand over the heart for taps is just, it gives you a reality check that it's not only for the badge, it's actually you're down here for everybody that's given up everything.
Chartier is learning how to rouge, which is metal polishing. It's an arduous process, and soldiers can spend days in the rouge room trying to reach the standard. After hundreds of hours are put into sanding, painting, and rouging the scabbards, the trainees and sentinels take great care not to damage them. NCOs must learn how to properly prepare the leather holsters that hold their pistols as well. It takes the careful assistance of a sentinel to help the NCOs in training reach a passable standard.
Whenever you put the pistol in, the actual paint will crack. So what we did is we laid a layer of fiberglass over it to make it a little more rigid.
This is a relatively new practice and was recently adopted by the soldiers at the tomb because it yielded impressive results.
You always look for a way to improve on what it is that you do. You always look for a way to improve. You make yourself better.
Another method of painting has been developed by Sentinel Robinson, who worked in an auto body shop before enlisting in the Army. He carefully preps the workspace, readies the air compressor, mixes the solution, and hangs up everything he wants to paint. The new method saves the tomb guards hours of precious time. Each soldier who comes down to the tomb develops slight variations of how to prepare their uniform, which over time contributes to the wealth of knowledge available to new trainees.
In my early days, when I was around the age of 17, I was into cars pretty deep, and I just started working in a shop one summer. It was a body shop, and I just got really interested in paint. And over the years, worked at different shops with different people, and just really gained an interest in paint. And I did quite a few custom jobs over the years. So when I joined the Army, it was kind of hard to drop that skill. When I saw the opportunity to spray stocks or scabbards or holsters, and I saw that people were using spray paint, it just seemed a little insufficient in my eyes. So I tried to introduce a new method using auto paint, and it has definitely turned out for the best.
You know, even line 6 in the Sentinel's Creed, my standard will remain perfection. As a Sentinel, you always want to better yourself.
Yeah, that's always
It's got to tick high.
I can talk about the first time I went out there. I was shaking. I was nervous. I was sweating before I even went out the door. And, you know, the biggest thing I can remember was don't drop the weapon, and trying to remember the sequence of events through my head. I just went up 30 minutes ago. I've been down here since August. The same thing's going through my head. You get more comfortable, the people don't bother you. But the fact that we want to be so perfect, at line 6, my standard remain perfection. I've been here 9 months, and I still want to be perfect.
The Sentinel's Creed is a poem that embodies the attitude all tomb guards must have to walk the mat. Line 6 of the Sentinel's Creed says, "My standard will remain perfection," and is often referred to by tomb guards to remind themselves and each other of their commitment to excellence.
The Sentinel's Creed. My dedication to the sacred duty is total and wholehearted. In the responsibility bestowed on me, never will I falter. And with dignity and perseverance, my standard will remain perfection. Through the years of diligence and praise and the discomfort of the elements, I will walk my tour in humble reverence to the best of my ability. It is he who commands the respect I protect, his bravery that made us so proud. Surrounded by well-meaning crowds by day, alone in the thoughtful peace of night, this soldier will in honored glory rest under my eternal vigilance. Simon, 1971.
A standard of perfection is required throughout the training and must be maintained even after a soldier receives their tomb badge. The badge does not mean the Sentinel has obtained perfection, only that he has shown a deeper commitment to constantly pursuing perfection. Badge holders are actually held to a higher standard than trainees because they've been formally taught how to see things a new man can't and have developed attention to detail that should never fade with time. Today, Staff Sergeant Bonner is preparing to take Test 2. There are a total of 5 tests new men must pass to earn their badge. TDY, Test 1, Test 2, Full Rotation, and Badge Test. Each level trains the soldier in new areas, challenging their will to succeed and giving them more responsibilities. Each test is also graded more strictly than the ones that came before it.
I checked for press marks underneath the pockets. I checked for press marks along the pleats. Then I went into the uniform, the actual measurements for his medals racks, and then I was going into his unit crests up on his shoulder blades. And again, I was checking here just to make sure that he had the 2-inch spacing from the keeper to the belt buckle on either side. What I'm doing now is I'm just going through, and as I check the measurements, I'm just making sure the brass has been wiped off correctly and make sure that there's not any spots on it or anything. The easiest way to check that is you just breathe on it, and the moisture of your breath gets put on there, and if it doesn't disperse evenly, it'll definitely show you where it hasn't been wiped off. And now I'm going to actually check the presses, making sure it's been pressed correctly. Make sure there's no double presses anywhere. Make sure the back of the sleeves aren't any rolls, which means one side of the fabric sticks out higher than the other. So that whenever it comes together, all you see is just the perfect seam.
Even after the inspection, Sergeant Bonner won't know if he's actually passed.
Right now, he has no idea what I'm gigging. And part of that is not to keep him uncertain, but just to kind of let him, all right, he's testing, this part's over with, and it's part of that mental toughness that it takes in order to be a Sentinel down here. He did pass. I'm not going to tell him that until probably about 8 o'clock tonight, but he did pass.
The uniform inspection is only the first part of the test he'll take today. As the day continues, Staff Sergeant Bonner faces the second portion of Test 2, outside performance. He'll be carefully watched as he changes the guard. Even one heel click off counts as a gig, and he can only make a handful of mistakes before being required to take the test over from the beginning. Sentinel Sandifer waits while Sergeant Bonner heads to the plaza.
If you come to the tomb and you're seeing it for the first time, then remember it's not a show we're putting on. That it's a vigil we are pulling to remember everybody that gave everything, past, present, and future. Obviously we're representing the 4 major wars out there, but it's before that. There's the Revolutionary War, there's Civil War unknowns, the War of 1812. They've all got unknowns, and just because they're not on that plaza or just because they're not there, it's just a reminder that we shouldn't forget everybody that's given everything.
Throughout the guard change, all soldiers must maintain their ceremonial composure to represent the honor and reverence of their assignment. Sergeant Bonner has practiced this sequence for months in the quarters, and now he'll get a chance to be graded on his execution.
It's a beautiful thing to die for your country, and to be remembered for who you are and for the things you gave for your country. Don't just look at it as I'm here to see a show or I'm here to see this guy spin his rifle, because it's really, in my mind, in my eyes, we're not here for that, and we will never be here for a show. We're here to pull a vigil to remind the nation and everybody that there are people that have given the ultimate sacrifice and that we will not forget them.
After the last changing of the guard, the NCO will inform the visitors the cemetery is closing.
Ladies and gentlemen, may I have your attention for one more moment, please? As of 7 p.m., Arlington National Cemetery is closed to the public, and the Tomb of the Unknown Soldier becomes a restricted military post. Therefore, all visitors must exit the cemetery at this time. Thank you.
Even after everyone leaves, the tomb guard stays at his post. After the day comes to a close, Sergeant Bonner prepares to take the final portion of Test 2.
All right, Sergeant Bonner, you already took your outside performance, your uniform. Now you're going to get into your knowledge test. Your knowledge test, your first 7 pages are blank. Good luck. Thank you.
As training progresses, the new men are taught more and more of the 17 pages of knowledge that they must know by heart to complete training. Once all 3 portions of Test 2 are complete, uniform, outside performance, and knowledge, Sergeant Bonner is finally told if he's passed the test in its entirety.
All right, Sergeant Bonner. As you know, today we're taking test 2. The first test we did today was your uniform test. Test 2, you're authorized 5 gigs. 1 was your pants. Your right leg was sitting down lower than your left leg. Your left shoe didn't look nearly as good as your right shoe did. On your measurements on your medals rack, your Iraqi campaign was 2 ticks high. On your right sleeve, you had a double press, so you were go on uniform. Outside performance, the overall cadence of the guard changes were pretty consistent, but the weapons manual, during your inspection, the main ones I had for you were the same ones we've been talking about for a while. Your spin down, so you were go outside. On your knowledge test, you did a lot better this time. 4 gigs, so you were go. So you know what that means. Congratulations, you passed test 2. 3 minutes go PTs.
After finding out he's passed test 2, Sergeant Bonner must perform a dress drill and earn his new privileges.
Looking at his test, he missed some sections. Some like 2 sections. Make sure he gets those.
While you're in training, you need to learn 17 pages of knowledge verbatim. In order to help you learn those faster, there's something that all the tomb guards in training do that are called headstone runs.
So I need Abrams first, 21, and then the one for first relief is going to be double deck. Abrams, just because he's never been there, I'll give you 6 minutes. Shouldn't take you that long, I don't leave it there. Go.
Running headstones helps the men in training remember exactly where important military figures are buried. But the task has another purpose. It will show the badge holders whether or not the trainee has the heart to continue through the cycle. Running headstones after passing a test usually lasts for hours. Long after the cemetery is empty, the soldiers run from marker to marker to collect rubbings. If a soldier fails to make a time hack, they'll be sent on the run again.
Time.
Today, Sergeant Bonner has passed test 2, but it's only the beginning of several milestones he'll have to pass to complete training. Regardless of the weather, tomb guards walk the mat, protecting the unknowns 24 hours a day. During extreme weather conditions, Fort Myer is completely locked down, and Washington, D.C. is nearly empty, but the tomb guards stay with the unknowns. Soldiers typically serve between 18 months and 3 years at the tomb, and during this time they experience all kinds of extreme weather conditions.
In one given day, we experienced all 4 seasons. We started out, it was extremely hot, we were in a blouse. From that, we rotated into a raincoat, it started raining, and then it got super windy, changed uniform again, and then at the last walk that I executed for the day, it started snowing. It was almost a mini blizzard that lasted 15 minutes, and it was in the middle of the summer.
Hurricane Irene hit. It started out, it was a pretty nice day out, and we really didn't think it was going to rain a whole lot that day. We didn't know anything was coming, so we got out there. I was actually in blouse that day, full ribbons rack, everything on, and then it started pouring, just straight pouring. So I went to the box, called down, let them know that it was raining. They come out and post-1 me off, and that's when we were in raincoat for the rest of the day. It was 60, 70, 80 mile winds, 80 mile per hour winds that day, just rain coming down like crazy. Nobody was out there on the plaza. It was just pretty much an empty cemetery, but we stood guard that day, made sure that the job got done.
Hurricane Isabel, that was a very awe-inspiring moment where the whole cemetery just went black, no lights, just awesome quietness, pitch black, and all you see is a tomb, being there by yourself, guarding the unknown soldiers.
During the summer, guards are changed out every 30 minutes.
The summer heat around here, it will drain you faster than anything else. Most people don't understand that those are not just normal blues, those are our winter blues, and they maintain the heat.
During the winter, they walk for an hour on end.
There are times when you ask yourself, why am I going through all of this?
But then when you get your first walk of that day, no matter how your day started, once you're out there guarding the unknowns, it makes your day. It changes everything because you leave everything behind. You don't think about the troubles in your life, and you don't think about the negative things. You walk out there and you know you're doing the right thing for those 30 minutes or that 1 hour that you're out there.
Postings after the cemetery is closed are called night hours and usually last 2 hours. If a guard is pulling a vigil, they will be required to stay on the plaza the entire night.
The first time that you do a guard change in front of the box, it's no big thing, and they walk outside the chains and they head downstairs, and it may take 15 minutes, may take 20 minutes, and then all of a sudden it clicks and you realize you're all by yourself.
It's real quiet and peaceful. It gives you time to think. You're on the plaza with the tomb, the unknowns, and then you have a great view of the city. And it's, it's just real peaceful out there.
We're out here walking with the unknowns, and we're experiencing these elements, and regardless of the weather, we're going to continue to do that mission. And it's when it really sunk in for me that, rain, snow, sleet, or hail, we're going to be out there walking that mat.
Every walk, wreath, or changing of the guard is recorded by the commander of the relief. These records are stored in the tomb quarters as a living tribute to the unknowns.
Anything that memorable happens in history, one of the Sentinels tends to write that in the books. That is a living history of what happens here at the tomb and even around the world. It's part of a knowledge that we work with here.
Once the soldiers pass through the TDY phase, they'll be given a ceremonial flag to keep their own record while at the tomb. The trainees are instructed to layer the back of their flag with masking tape until it is thick enough to hold up their blues cap without bending. On the back of the flag, the soldiers write their name and relief number and keep a detailed ledger of their accomplishments while at the tomb.
I have however many walks I had, dates that are important to you, how many guard changes you have, and important quotes, stuff that you like to live by. Then I also have how many vigils and my badge number.
The final item a Sentinel records on their flag is their last walk. When a Sentinel has completed their tour at the tomb, they take part in a last walk ceremony. This archive footage shows Sergeant Dickmeyer conducting a last walk ceremony for Sentinel Ethan Morse. On October 28, 2010, Staff Sergeant Adam Dickmeyer, Badge 528, was killed in action in Kandahar Province in Afghanistan. He was a squad leader in the 101st Airborne Infantry Division, the Screaming Eagles, and gave his life to protect the men who followed him. His legacy burns bright among his tomb brethren, and his memory lives on in the tomb knowledge and in the minds of those who knew him. After their final guard change, the soldier returns to the plaza to lay a rose in front of the tomb and each crypt.
During the last walk, the soldier just pretty much invites his family up, important people in his life, and after this last walk, he exits the plaza and hands his rifle off and re-enters the plaza to lay roses on each crypt and just give his last respects to the unknown, to pretty much say goodbye.
It's kind of nerve-wracking, feeling that I'm ready to leave, but at the same time I'm not really prepared to give my final respects to the unknowns. But I've done my time here, so it's time for me to move on.
I can remember on my last walk, I had walked out of the Tomb Guard headquarters and was walking up towards the inspection. I'd come to parade rest. An older lady came up to me and she had a handkerchief up and she was dressed in black and she started talking to me and telling me about her loved one that did not come home from the war. Now, she did not mention which war it was. And she blessed me. She had a little handkerchief and she blessed me. And When she did that, it brought to mind that that's what this is really all about. This sacred shrine that we're tomb guards are so dedicated to. When the crowds are there during the daytime and you're out there guarding the tomb, you feel a lot of pride in yourself. But really, you realize that the dedication and all the training that you have done, and what an honor it is to be there to represent these guys who have given all.
It's a high honor being out there, and I miss it. And I still miss it to this day. Every time I go out there and see the plaza and see those tomb guards guarding the unknown soldiers, just brings pride to my chest, knowing that I'm one of the few that were able to do that for the unknown soldiers.
When a new man first takes on the training cycle, they're usually very preoccupied with an overwhelming amount of new information. After learning and slowly mastering their duties, they begin to understand the real reason the Tomb of the Unknown Soldier even exists. There are unknown soldiers in Arlington from every walk of life, every hometown, and countless families are connected to these brave men and women. These family members never receive closure regarding their loved one's final resting place. They never attended a military funeral to pay their last respects, and thousands upon thousands of these families visit the Tomb of the Unknown Soldier every year, knowing in their heart that their loved one could be buried beneath this granite plaza. During conflicts prior to the Vietnam War, very few soldiers were brought back to American soil after losing their lives. This is something that now happens to every fallen soldier abroad. Their remains are honorably transferred from overseas to Dover, Delaware, where Old Guard soldiers conduct an honorable transfer of their fallen comrades to Arlington, their final resting place. The task and information the soldiers must memorize sharpen their minds and condition their bodies. The freezing cold nights and scorching hot days test their resolve and push the men to their limits. Through it all, the men who earn their badge learn the unknowns deserve more than they could ever give. Tomb guards uphold the highest standards in the United States military to preserve the memory and legacy of soldiers who died, but were never identified. These soldiers will, in honored glory, rest under their eternal vigilance.
In the end, the only way to maintain the peace is to be prepared in the final extreme to fight for our country. This cemetery and others like it all around the world remind us with pride of our obligation and our opportunity. On this day of remembrance, let us pray in the name of those who have fallen in this country's wars that there will be no veterans of any further war, not because all shall have perished, but because all shall have learned to live together in peace. And to the dead here in this cemetery, we say they are the race. They are the race immortal, whose beams make broad the common light of day. Though time may dim, though death has barred their portal, these we salute, which nameless passed away.